For today, we're going to discuss Dairy Cattle Lecture topic number 3, which is about housing and equipment. And it's going to be a lot more different from what you expect on the beef cattle production because we have a lot more inputs, given that they are going to be milked, no? And they are being bred so that we can get the milk out of this type of ruminant. So what we want is to provide a good, healthy environment, living condition for our mamas, our dairy cows, so that they will be able to produce high milk production. It's ideal that they are comfortable. They will not experience any physical stress, which includes heat stress and then traumas, no, out of poor housing and respiratory infection out of poor ventilation. So at the same time, still hoping that it would be economical so that it's not very difficult to maintain. Okay, most buildings are planned with the convenience and comfort of the owner or the staff rather than of the cow. And over the years, no, we are more particular now with animal welfare. So we are no at least baby steps. No, at least we are making changes so it will be more comfortable for the cow. Okay, at the end of the day, if they are in good condition, then they would produce more milk, and that would be a positive, no, in terms of finances for the farm owner. Okay. We have three main types for our housing. The first and the old one is the stanchion barn, and that's here at the middle. Yeah, so just a simple with your aluminum roofing and then your coco lumber foundation posts, no? And the idea of the stanchion barn is that the animal is tied up in this small area, no? They are not necessarily tied up there for life. I mean, they can also go out, but most parts of the day, they are tied up there so that they won't be wandering around. And then they just stand up to eat or poop or pee. Then if they want to rest, they will lie down. So they don't have any circular motions, no? I mean, or any other movements, no circular movements, no. So they are usually just in that one direction with their head facing the trough. Okay. Now we have the loose housing, and that would be here at the bottom left. Okay. This is a picture coming from a farm in Saudi Arabia, if I'm not mistaken, no? Or somewhere in the Middle East. It's an Al Ain farm. Now that's the name of the farm, Al Ain Farm. It's owned by a prince, okay? And it uses the same housing as what we commonly see for beef cattle or like big ranches in Texas or in Midwest America, where you have a vast area open area, and at the center usually is where you have the open housing, just this foundation post, be it coco lumber or metal or steel, and with simple roofing, it's usually aluminum or GI sheets, no? So they are free to go wherever they want. If they want to bask in the sun, they can go out. It's raining a lot, they will just come in. And it's loose housing, meaning there is no specific area where the cows will be lying down. So in any direction that they want, because there are no stalls. Okay. Oh, okay. Now I'm seeing na it's not moving. Okay. Sige, sige. Let me repeat. So I'm afraid that I won't be able to maximize the presentation. It would just be like this. Stop share. Resume share. It doesn't want for me to uh, open it up. So let's see. using this. Okay, it won't allow me. Sige. Ayan, nakita niyo na. Right? It's being shown now. Can you see it now?
Yes, Doc.
Thank you. So, nothing much. Just, okay. Let me go back. Ayan. Okay, so this is just the introduction part. And it's mostly just tech, and I already mentioned it. Okay. And then the next part here would be the types of dairy housing. At the top picture, that's a farm. That's a farm of Del Monte. They just have a small operations for their dairy cattle production. Del Monte Bukidnon. And then the one at the bottom here is in Middle East, the Middle East. And the one here on the bottom right is a farm in also in the United States, and it's what we call the free stall. Because you have an enclosed building, well, especially if it's in the temperate country, it's enclosed because during winter they want to keep the heat, no, inside. So they really have roll up facilities to bring the animals in. But you can also have laws even in tropical countries. So it's just, also open, same as like in the loose housing type of building, roofing. But it's just that you have cubicles where the cattle can go in inside and lie down. And here in this cubicles, the bedding is usually sand, and it's one of the materials that would offer the best comfort for the animals for as long as they remain dry and loose, okay? Because if they are wet, no, they become muddy, then that becomes your causative agent for your mastitis, your lameness, and wound infection and so forth. Okay? So we have less prisons here in the country. If I'm not mistaken, there are 2 to 3 operations having these prisons, and they are the big commercial dairy cattle farms. Okay, moreover on the stanchion barn, see here, this is a dairy farm in Denmark. Also, they still have this very old type of farming, and most of the cows are just on one side and are tied up. So either by their legs. So in Bukidnon, in Del Monte, they would tie them up on the hind feet, and then here you can see that they have a neck halter, and that's where they're tied. Okay, so that they would not be able to go in front, no, and escape. Okay, and they're already there, and that's where they are being fed, that's where they poop, and that's also where they are being milked, no? Okay, and next one. Okay, on stanchion barns, we have further classifications. So this would already discuss on the layout of the building. So you have 2-story barn where you have all the supplies and the feeds stored in the second level. So there's the second floor. And then the advantage is that you have like a spacious area at your ground floor, no? And then you can have a mechanism where you can have your feeds in your ground floor, like a mechanized way of getting feed from the second floor going to the ground floor, or just by gravity, pushing the sack of feeds to fall to the ground floor, no? So this would look like this. So usually they have this like a belt, no? A belt mechanism that would transport the hills of the bay no, bales of hay going to the second floor. And we call this type of house, this design, no? This is what we call the Amish barn, and it's very famous in Midwest America. They still have very few of this already because this Amish community are dwindling. No, they're a little bit dwindling already. Same as what's happening in other parts of the world where the younger people no are no longer interested no to the old way of life of their family. But they have a different way of farming. It's very traditional. They don't want to use as much machines, no? So everything is a little bit manual. They still use a lot of animals for going their land, tilling their land, and for transportation, no? So the very, very old ways. So this is how it would look like. So this is what we call the Amish barn. And it is very typical of the two-story barn, the stanchion housing that I am talking about. Okay, the second one would be the single story barn, and it's usually for storage. And the advantage for the single story barn is that it would have, less risk for fire because of less forage being stored inside the barn. And then it's easier to repair and build because of its smaller size, and it's less complicated because it's just one floor. And this is a sample design of that single story barn where you have an area for your milking parlor, and then this would be your entrance, preparation for the milking, and then this may probably be your storage, something like that, no? And these are examples of your single story stanchion barns. And this particular picture is coming from a worldwide company, the Laval, and they are a European company. So this particular farm is found in Europe, if I'm not mistaken. It's either Denmark or Sweden. Okay, they still have a lot of this. And I was also able to see one like this, but it's one like this in Wisconsin, no? So they have a similar one. And they have a drainage here where there's a belt mechanism that would be pulling the manure and urine out of the barn to go into the wastewater facility or the sewage area. And they are just here, no, for in terms of animal welfare, the concern is having the appropriate amount of exercise per day if they are kept in one place, or if they are kept stationary, But in the previous slide, it was mentioned that they also have their grazing time, especially in especially in Sweden. They still do graze their animals there, and see how well bedded their areas are. And we see sawdust here, and the other one we see parang dried grass. Okay, from this slide, we have this milking system, continuous pipeline. So that's the name of the milking system. Where the clusters will suck in the milk, and it will flow to a centralized pipeline, and it will go straight to the bulk tank in the milking room. Okay, see, this has multiple clusters at the same time. So batch of 8 cows will be milked at a time, which is very efficient because they have big dairies there. And at the bottom picture here, I would say they have at most 2, at a time. And that would be used, to the left and right. So it would take more time to milk on the farm at the bottom picture rather than on the upper picture. Another milking system is what we usually have here in the Philippines, which is the mobile bucket system. And it has wheels so that it's the milking system that will be going to the cow. And this is expected in smaller dairies. And the cow would be stationary in one area, in a holding pen, and it's usually the milking bucket system would go behind the cow to do the milking, no? But in this picture, you see that it's going on the side. So there, you have that flexibility, especially if there's an open space, no, on both sides of the cow. But if not, no, usually we would milk them. We would have this bucket system behind them. Okay, lastly, second, we have the loose housing. And this is a farm in Calauan, Laguna. And same as what you've seen in the picture from the Middle East farm, no, they also have this GI sheet roofing and this steel foundation posts. It's just that they don't have cubicles, so they can go wherever they want, and in the sandbar, no. But it this does not maximize the space, because there are a lot of free space now where the cows cannot go to, and they are like lined up or resting haphazardly, meaning not in one direction. So one could be horizontal, one can be vertical, one can be diagonal. So there will be some space that could have been occupied by the others if you are using the free stall type of housing, no? So it gives more leeway for the cow to sit where they want, but in terms of operations, this will be costly because you have a lot of free spaces where you can house your animals. Okay, so they have free access to their food, no, if it's already there, and the water is always there. And if they have minerals, it's always there as well, so they can have access wherever they want. Okay. Okay, this is another type of loose housing. The one on top is from a farm in the United States. And see how they are being fed. There's just a bar, horizontal bar, that would prevent them from going outside to the alleyway, no? And that would usually be like a hindrance on their neck area, on their nape. And so if you will see any cows, no, having skin lesions on that area, it's mostly because of this type of feeding infrastructure. And behind them would be very good bedding, and this would be very thick dry grass, no, dry grass that they use for their flooring, for their bedding. And the one at the bottom is what we call the compost, no? Compost type of barn, wherein the bedding is recycled material. So it used to be their new material that had the manure and then the urine, and then they were processed, and they were a little bit pulverized, and then used again as bedding. So we call this as the compost bedding. And there are studies that it does not really affect, like it's not a risk factor to use compost bedding for mastitis, but there would be some literature that would also say so. So I'm not very experienced on the use of this, but yeah, at least I was able to see one and feel one. They don't have any odor because they have been processed already. But yeah, I have not tried them, so I don't know if it would really if it's really a risk factor for bovine mastitis to be using compost bedding. Okay, so both are loose housing. And on the more tropical areas, so this one on top is also from the United States, but more of the Middle Eastern area where it's hotter. So just a simple flooring would do, just enough shade, no, is enough for them. And the one at the bottom left is coming from Laguna Creamery, that's in Bae, Laguna. So they just have an open space and a tarpaulin area where their cows can go to if it becomes too hot. And their feeding trough are just the simple ones. cut vertically, drums that are cut vertically, and then they just put posts, no, so that they would be able to stand up. And then at the bottom on the right is a farm in Thailand. So same concept as what's in the other pictures. So we have heifers everywhere, and then they can just loaf around, be it inside or outside the roofed area. Okay, now for the free stall. So it's same concept as the loose housing. It's just that they have the individual cubicles. So the principle here, if you're gonna have this type of housing, is to provide 10% more free space for your cows. So at least they can have a little bit of that leeway where they can choose where they want to. But there's also this hierarchy with dairy cows that like a little bigger cows would have the better area, or they would have access, or like faster access to the better free store, no? And so they would occupy the free store faster than the a little thinner ones, okay? And then these stalls are what they use for resting. And then when they go to feed, they go to the feeds. They stand up, and then they go to the feed stalls. And then when they're being milked, they are being directed outside to go to the milking parlor. Okay. These are your cubicles. So in making a free stall, it's very tricky because there's no like one size fits all design. It has to consider the body size of your cows in your farm. So like if we use a blueprint coming from abroad, it will not be that effective because the cows there are very big, no, compared to what we have here. So we have to adjust the measurements, okay? And there has to be a chest or a brisket board. If you can see my pointer, no? It's in the brisket board that's in front of them, and that will keep them from walking to the other side, okay? And that would also give them uh a border, no, or like basically, no, something to tell them that you can only rest up to this side, no, a board. Okay, and you see once they are rested there, they're very comfortable, no? They'll be lying on one side, and then you can see them ruminate. Okay. Other plants or other farms with the free stall. So the one above is also another coming from Midwest USA. All of which pala are coming from Midwest USA, no? All these pictures. Okay. Now for our inexpensive and simple housing, which we commonly see all over our country, no? And we use indigenous materials such as yung sawali natin, your nipa, and then the bamboo, no? So this is just an example of a blueprint of how we can construct one. So hindi siya kailangan maging mamahalin na naka-semento and then naka-steel post, no? It's just that if you're gonna use this type of materials, there would be, expect more maintenance costs because they are not too durable as compared to the expensive materials. Okay, this is a farm in Ibaan, Batangas. And this, the picture at the bottom is their water trough, and they put a roof over their water trough so that it would not be exposed on under the sunlight, and then there will be less mold formation. And the water will not be hot, no, even during the like noontime. And when the water is hot, the cows are not willing, or they're not interested in drink. So they prefer cool water or even cold water. Okay. And the picture on top is a picture of the like grower pen or heifer pen of the same farm. So they're using the same indigenous bamboo materials mixed with some concrete foundation posts. Okay. So I have a video here that would show you like one side of that grower or heifer barn. Okay. In the video clip, you saw that they have still wire mesh together with the bamboo slats, the bamboo post, because there can be some escape artists as well. What I don't like about on the top on top of the horizontal bamboo post would be a line of barbed wire, no, which can be very much of a cause for trauma out of this grower or heifers, because definitely they're removable, they're rowdy. So from time to time, you will have some accidents that they would be wounded because of this barbed wire, no? So it's not advised that we use barbed wire as part of our fencing. Okay, furthermore, we have different types of design as well, depending on the type of animals that we're tending to. No, so we have these dairy cows, and we usually house them individually, or we enclose them individually, and they have to be elevated from the floor. So I experienced having to take care of cows that are lying down on the floor, and just using rice hulls, no, as bedding, and the bedding is not very thick. So, and when there are times that rice hulls are out of stock in the farm, no, so they don't have any beddings, and you can expect that the growth rate of the calves are not very good, and several are stunted, they're very sickly, they are thin. So over time, the improvement that we've done is to elevate them like this one, and to limit their access to their pen mates, to the one beside them. So we put these partition boards as well, so that they will not have access. They can see them once inside the barn, but at least they have this steel matting in between, so that they would not have this direct access. Okay. It should be that they are easy to clean, and one of the reasons to elevate them is so that it's easier to clean the flooring, to flush down or to hose down their urine and then their feces. It's very important that the calf area is very clean and that the ventilation is very good, no? Otherwise, they are very, I mean, the immune system is not yet established. So naturally, if they have a poor living condition, they will really get sick, no? Most of them. So you will have an increase in the calf mortality if that is your type of housing. Okay. So this is what we want to prevent. Okay, that's why we put in the partition boards. This behavior, or yeah, this habit is a very good risk factor for the transfer of pathogens, whatever it is. And if we have patients, it's important to isolate them, and we put a space in between, like a blank, a vacant space, no, so that there would not be any calf beside the sick calf. Okay, and in calf pen, the one in front would have two buckets that would carry the ad libitum water, and then because there would be times in the day where we give the milk. So after giving off the milk, then we put in the water. And on the other bucket is where we put the feeds, no? So also supplements and stuff. And the one behind them is where their grass trough is. So any time of the day that they want to chew, in between when we feed the milk and then the feeds, so they can do so. And it's giving them early training so that their stomach would now be converted to rumen with very good papilla or papillae, no? So on the right, we have the incubator, and we house our calves here up to 3 days, 3 to 5 days, depending on the availability, no? So inside you have a bucket that would carry the water, and then you have a 100-watt bulb, so that acts like the heater or the incubator that would keep the calf warm. So when they are calves, no, these calves are not yet established in their thermoregulation. So this is one way for us to help them regulate their body temperature. This is another design on how we enclose our dairy calves. So the calf hutches are very famous for temperate countries. They put their calves outside, no, not inside the barn, and only the milking parlor is inside the barn, and everybody else is outside. And since they don't have this established thermoregulation system yet, and they should be enclosed individually. They have their own hut. So that's what we call the hutches. And same concept as what you see in the previous slide, they have their individual buckets, and they are not spaced like very close to each other. There's a free space in between the hutches so that they will not have close contact with each other. Okay, another design on the calf pen that is indoor. This is still in USA. I just want to feature the one in the circle here is the frame, the holding frame for the feeding bottle. No? So this makes your operations efficient because you don't need to hold the feeding bottle yourself, no? So you have like for calves that are still being given milk. So you put it in the feeding bottle, you put it in the holding frame, and then it's like mimicking that the calf is still nursing from the dam. No, kasi it has to elevate its head to get the milk out, okay? But over time, like in the operations where I was managing before, on the first 3 days, we do milk feeding bottle. But from day 4 to 7, we now teach it to drink from the bucket. Okay, as mentioned earlier. Okay, another housing, no, after 2 months, they get promoted to go to the communal pen. And this is starting when they become growers. So the picture on the left is coming from a farm in New Zealand. And they're just like in a group housing where they are loose, no? So same concept as the loose housing. And then on the right picture, you see that they have a communal feeder. And this is also coming from New Zealand. So this was sent to me by a friend. So this is how they would feed their growers. You can also order this bucket out of Australia or New Zealand, but this is not practiced. No, this feeding system is not popular in the United States. So it's more of New Zealand and Australia. Okay. But some farms here would also use the same bucket. I'm not a fan of this bucket because I wouldn't know how much one calf is really drinking. So what if one is drinking a lot more than the other? So then you can get stunned. So I really like it doing things individually, but still you have this work efficiency, like using the feeding bottle frame, so you don't have to hold it. You can do something else, no? So something like that. So this is now the next stage after the 2 month age of the calf. So this is our communal area, the grower pen. And in most of the farms all over the world, this is still loose housing. But in this particular farm, we already started to teach them on how to be in a freestall housing early on in life, no? So they can be I mean space, no, will be used more efficiently. Okay. For older calves, no, you have to consider the size. So the picture here is coming from a farm in Israel. Okay, and same concept. So you have a loose barn where they have a feeding trough in front because it's easier for the feeding vehicle or the feeding tractor to pass by and put in the feeds or the grass, no? And sometimes they can go out, no, but most of the time they're already in because the important cows to do the grazing would be the pregnant ones, the dry ones, or then the lactating ones. So most of the time they are inside this box. And you see this calf here, no, it has this feeding bowl. No, this is not a feeding bowl. This is a water bowl, no. So one by one, they can go line up and drink from this water bowl. And it has a filling mechanism. So if one is, one touches like the spout, so it will automatically release the water. So the cow would be able to drink. And from the limited space, it means that you can only put as like 3 to 4 animals inside. These are your variations on your water troughs. Now we have these different water bowls, and then we can also put in this vertically cut in half drum, and we can put it inside, the water inside. If you can remember from the video clip, they have a cemented barrel in the middle of the grazing area, and they fill in the water there automatically. It's with a pipe system on underground, so that it would automatically fill up water for the grazing animals. Okay, over time, no, this is another design of loose housing. So the concept is they have a free space where they can go to, and then an enclosure or shelter where they can hide if it's too cold or if it's raining a lot. The important thing that there would be no damage part of the barn, there would be no gravel, okay, no exposed nails, etc. No, as they are growing, no, they become bigger, so then it becomes an issue to provide this tight enclosure for them. So one of the options that you can do is to house them outside and just make a small hut, no, so that they can go inside during adverse weather. And in this picture, you're being shown the net shade, okay? And this is to protect them if they are feeding. So even like in our tropical area, tropical weather, during noontime, it gets really hot. And without the net shades, no cow would want to go in front of the feeding trough to eat, okay? So then, if you have feeds there, it will go rancid because they are exposed to the sun. And it's very important that we have this net shade to protect them from the sun. So they would not suffer from heat stress. Okay. Next would be the feeding bunks here. No, you just have this different dimensions. Okay. Another setup for your heifers or your first time pregnants. So it's important to have a big water bowl because big cows, no, they tend to drink 15 gallons per day per animal. And if you've seen one urinate, no, it's like an open faucet. The urine coming out is really a lot, no? So expect that because of that urine output, they're also drinking a lot. Okay, now for the milking herd, when they're already inside the barn, it depends on the design of the barn. It could be that their water trough is behind them. It could be on their side, no? But the important is it should not be just a bowl, no? It should be a trough because they are milkers. They are being milked. If I mean, even a person after lactating, after nursing, no, you get really thirsty. So it's the same as for cows. So after visiting the parlor, they get thirsty. So it's important that you really have a big trough to accommodate as much of your milkers at the same time. Okay. Important to have that slope, no? in your flooring, no, the 2 to 5 degree slope. Okay, moreover, no, you have additional measurements here for your feed banks and roughage racks. And then for your water, no, just additional measurements for you to be familiar with. Lastly, we have the dairy bowl, and since they can have a hot temperament, it's really advisable for them to be housed individually, especially if, you know, you have a lot of bowls. So in this particular farm, there's a semen collection center. That's why they have a lot of bowls. And each individual enclosure would have its own feeding area, which is in front, and then the water trough at the back. And we also have to consider the very sturdy partitions between them, because if they get mad and then they fight, they can really destroy the partitions between them. So they have to be still, they have to be durable. Okay, so another picture of just how we have our housing for the dairy bulls. And they also have this sand flooring, okay? And when we change the bedding, the sand bedding, they get really giddy, they get really happy. So that's what they do, no? They stamp it off, they try to scatter it out. Ayan. So that's important to have it dry and loose as possible. Okay? So we're done on the housing. Now we proceed to the milking parlor. So we have two types of operations. We have the backyard or the smallhold operation, and then we have the commercial one. Okay, the advantages, if you are in like a mechanized setup, if it will require less effort for you to milk the cow, and you can maximize, no, by milking more at a time, and it facilitates producing more clean milk, more quality milk, no? The design should be more convenient for both the cow and then the worker, and essentially it should practice good ways on easy, no, convenient ways on how to properly clean the system. Okay, so you should not have any areas where you have flooding, etc. You should have good maintenance of your system. Okay, and they are well maintained. So in the smallhold farm, we have, well, in the type of milking parlors or flooring, we can have two types. The floor level, where we usually have for our hand milking. And this picture is coming from here in the Philippines. So I've taken it from the catalog of the National Dairy Authority. And the one on the other side, the elevated one, is the parlor setup in Laguna Creamery. That's in Bae Laguna. And the elevated one, also the same design as in D3, Dairy Training Research Institute, the old design. So they're renovating. I'm not sure how it would look like right now. The Magpantay farm in Tanawan also has the same concept. So they have a pit, no, the milking pit, we call it, where the milkers will be on the like bottom floor, and eye level to the milkers would be the other of the cow. So that's the elevated milking system. Commonly, for the commercial ones, we have the elevated flooring system. Okay, so just an example of a floor level continuous pipeline setup. So it doesn't have to be hand milking all the time. This one is coming from Europe. So it's Sweden, no? Coming from Sweden. So stanchion barn, floor level, continuous pipeline, no? So after doing this particular topic with you, I would really love it, no? Like if I show you a picture, then you can already identify what type of milking parlor it is. Is it elevated or floor level? What type of milking system? Is it milk bucket, continuous pipeline? What type of housing? Is it loose? Is it freestall or stanchion barn, no? Okay, that's my goal, no? For you to easily identify what's in the picture. So I don't like this because it would hurt your back so much. Kasi you have to, you have to stoop down, no? Even for hand milking, it's not good for the back. Okay? So I don't prefer this. I love the, elevated one. Okay, another design of how you can have your milking parlor. So one area is like for the office, for the feed room, then the bigger one would be your milking room. Now, the elevated stall system has a pit that is about 61 to 76 cm and less fatigue for the milker, and it has further arrangements, no, in terms of how the milking parlor is set up. It can be a tandem or a U shape. So this one is, let's see here. Yeah, this one is a tandem. The cow alley. Look at the cow alley. So the animal will be coming inside one by one and going outside one by one. Okay, so you would have less animals being milked. Not so efficient. Next is the U shape. So you will have more cows, a little more cows that you can milk. Yeah. Actually, not so, depending. So you can have 3. Okay, from the bottom picture, you can also have 3. But it gives, it takes more space, no? The U-shape arrangement. So these are very old designs. I rarely see one. I was able to see a tandem design in PCC, Gene Pool in Nueva Ecija many years ago. I understand they do not use that milking parlor anymore. Okay, the other types of milking parlor, we have the walk-through, the gate types, tandem, rotary. That's the circle one. Okay, that's automatic. It's like a carousel. And the milker is just standing on one side and the cows are turning in one by one, no, as they complete a cycle. So we still have several of those in Australia and New Zealand. And that's the one that they usually have for really big dairies because it takes a lot of space. So having a rotary is not a good idea here in the Philippines. So the way the cow would enter and exit would depend on the design. It could be a breast, could be tandem, or it could be herringbone. Herringbone is just there a little diagonal. Carousel is on side one by one, and then a breast is going inside head on. No. Okay, the herringbone was the old design of the Dichi milking parlor, and the parallel is the common milking design that we now have here. As most of the farms here in Batangas have the parallel side. Okay, so we have several pictures now coming here. And this is to show you the different types of milking parlor design. So this is the parallel where you have a loss of efficiency in your space, okay? Then you have the tandem, not so efficient because you can only milk a few compared to the parallel. The herringbone is diagonal, so you have a little more space taken up as compared to the parallel. Then you have the rotary. And when they get finished, they go home to their free stall. Okay. Okay, this is a shoot or walk through, which the PCC Gene Pool had before. Okay, this is a gate type stall. So they are enclosed in gates, each of them, and then they go out as they finish the milking and eating. This is the design for the robotic milking machine. So once they get inside, they get locked up, and then they will be milked by the robot. Okay, so this is the robotic gate type parlor, and this one is in New Zealand. Okay, this one also is in New Zealand. So we have a video clip here to show you how the robots would milk the cow.
program na siya. Yan yung mga pangalan ng mga ano. Yan. Ay, tapos, ha, okay. Lang sa, hindi yung
Okay, so that ends the video clip. So next is our rotary, no? So this is how a rotary would look like. And this is the carousel rotary. Okay, and we still have this remaining carousel rotary in Finland. The originating country of the robotic system is also from Finland, but the one in the video is from New Zealand. Okay, the next one we have the herringbone, and this one is a diamond-shaped herringbone. This is the only one that we have in the world. As I understand, this is also in Finland. Okay, this one is in Sweden, another type of the herringbone. And this is how the aerial view is for our herringbone. So another name to call the herringbone is the fishbone. Okay. And the one that we use right now is the parallel milking parlor. And this picture is from a farm in China. So here, this is a picture from Batangas. So they now also have a parallel system. And for the exit type or the gate system, it could be a side swing, manual, or with hydraulics, or swing over. There's a group bar, either a bar or a chest plate that would open up to quickly release all the animals and they can go rushing to their barn at the same time. Okay, other production facilities, we have foot bath that we can put in the milking barn before and after the milking parlor proper. And then we have yung foot vehicle bath and then the foot bath. We have the holding chute and where we have two parts, the body bale that can adjust to the barrel size of the animal. And then we have the head bale to prevent them from escaping the chute. Then this is the hoof trimming chute, no? And you use ano ba yan? Gears, no? So that you can lift up the leg of the cow. you put this chest plate to prevent the cow from lying down. And the bar here is where you put the front leg. If you're going to trim the front leg. Okay, so that will keep it tight. Okay, so that's for that video clip. And now to secure the hind leg, it's going to be lifted once we already have that tied up. So with the gear, it will lift the leg for you. And that's how you do the hoof trimming. So this video was taken in New Zealand, and this is their hoof trimming shoots available in the US, in Australia, and then New Zealand. And then lastly, we have the fences here. So you have your intervals. You can have your electric fence as posts, or you can have this wooden foundation post to put in your electric fences. So as mentioned, we don't like having barbed wire as the perimeter fences. And then we have some tractors and implements for the pasture propagation. You have these different types of implements that you can use to develop your area. And we also use a chopper so that we can evenly size the chopped grass for our for feeding our cows. And we have this automatic way of harvesting the pasture so that it will not be cut manually. Okay. And this is our transport mechanism to feed our cows. And we also have this total mixtration machine, which would be mixing all the raw materials so that they would be in a homogeneous manner so that the cows will not be able to choose which one they prefer eating first. To fertilize the field, we have a fertigator and then the manure spreader. So we utilize the manure by using them as fertilizer. Okay, so that ends our presentation